Now, all the way from Japan, we present Ms. Tanja McCandie, the lead teacher, trainer, and senior tutor for Cambridge University Press and Assessment in Japan. As a PhD candidate, she is focused on gender, teacher education, and leadership. And you can check out some of her work on www.equityeltjapan.net. Tanja will be discussing the options and importance of continual professional development, including different local contexts and employer expectations. Take it away, Tanja.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's just a little bit after 8 o'clock at nighttime, my time. So good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to turn on my screen share. And hopefully that will work so we can get everything organized. Okay, there we go. Okay, is everyone able to see that? That works for everybody? I hope so. Yes? Okay, all right. So thank you for the introduction. I am Tanja McCandie, and as said, I am the lead teacher trainer and the senior tutor for Cambridge University Press and Assessment here in Japan. My background is English education, but I will be talking about professional development today. So if you're not an English teacher, that's fine. I'm hoping that my presentation will help everybody. So we'll be talking about professional development, some options and importance, and why we continue to do professional development. Ooh, go back there, sorry. So just quickly, this is going to be the overview of the presentation. It is approximately 30 minutes. I'm hoping, because I figure there will probably be quite a few questions, I'm hoping to wrap it up between 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll have about 5 to 7 minutes just for some questions. So what we're going to be taking a look at is what actually is professional development. Some localization, I'll talk a little bit more about that and what that means. Some options, the importance of professional development, some tips regarding your professional development, and then some time there for questions. So one of the things that I do want to talk about is what is professional development. Sorry if I keep looking this way, I have another screen over here, just in case anybody's wondering what I'm doing. So a lot of people ask, what is professional development? So I wanted to just clarify 3 different levels of development on this one. So there's faculty development. If you are a teacher, your principal, admin or whatnot, you may have some in-service or teacher training that you do in your school or your institution. Faculty development, while it is developing faculty and yourself as a teacher, it is very helpful for the school or the institution that you're working at. So faculty development has a lot of people involved, different teachers involved, and it focuses more on the running of the school or the institution as a community and how the community can improve for the students and for the community. Personal development can also include professional development, but for personal development, I want to take that away from developing in terms of your career or your job. So personal development could be picking up a new hobby, starting a new sport, anything that's not really related to work. So I want to just clarify this a little bit because some people will confuse personal development and professional development. Professional development is we really are focusing on your skills, your qualifications, and improving yourself in terms of your job and your career possibilities. So I'm going to be talking about professional development and hopefully improving everybody's career possibilities and skill sets. Okay. So for one of the things that I do want to mention, I will not have all of the answers for you in terms of your professional development and what you should be doing in terms of qualifications. The main reason for this is localization is really, really important. So what do you want to teach? Are you teaching at a language school? Are you teaching at an elementary school, at a university? This will really affect the kind of professional development that you are doing and sort of the professional development that you should be looking into. And the next one is, where do you want to work? Okay. So do you want to work? I'm based in Japan, my home country. I'm from Canada. This is a really, really important question to ask yourself, where you want to work, because the professional development and the skills and the qualifications needed are often very, very different. So I was having a quick conversation this afternoon with the conference organizers about professional development and options for teachers. Just to let you know, based in Japan, I do have my CELTA, but CELTA is not widely recognized in Japan, which might be shocking to many of you if you're joining us from Europe, because I know it's sort of the holy grail of starting in terms of professional development if you want to teach English. So that's really shocking to some people that CELTA is not really done in Japan. I think there might be 1 or 2 centers now that offer CELTA within all of Japan. So if you are looking at, I want to go to Japan and I want to get some qualifications, I'm going to do some professional development, I'll do the CELTA. That might not actually be what you need to be looking at if you want to be coming to Japan. Whereas if you are based in Europe, it most certainly is something that you do want to be looking at. So localization is really important in terms of figuring out which direction you want to go in with your professional development. In Japan, currently, the big thing right now is getting your master's degree. If you want to teach at a university, you really need to have a master's degree now. And I know that's a little bit different than certain areas. So again, the localization of where you want to work and what level do you want to work at is really, really important. So this is one of the reasons why I'm saying I can't give you the key, the holy grail of what you should be doing for professional development, because it is vastly, vastly different in terms of localization. So when you are thinking about professional development, please do think about where you are now, what is available to you, and where you would like to be in the future, and then sort of plan your professional development with that in mind, with those goals in mind. Okay. And my apologies, if anybody hears any snoring in the background, I have a dog, and so he's asleep right now. So if you hear snoring, that's the dog. All right, so the options. I think right now, COVID has been extremely difficult for many of us, but COVID has been, in a way, sort of a blessing in terms of professional development opportunities. So we do have face-to-face options, which at this point are not really happening in a lot of places. So face-to-face options could be, for example, I'm going to use the CELTA and the Delta a lot just because that's what I'm mainly familiar with. You could be going to face-to-face options for CELTA or Delta. You could be attending symposium. You could be attending workshops, conferences and whatnot. So those are ideas that you could have and options that you have for professional development that are face-to-face. Online, what we're doing now. This is great. I think COVID has pushed a lot of conferences now online, which does open up the possibilities for us to be joining conferences all over the world. And then I have distance there as well. And sometimes people wonder what the difference between online and distance is. Currently, I'm in my Doctor of Education program, and mine is a distance program. So mine is, I'm going to a university in Canada. I am studying through a Canadian university, but it is a distance program because it's not necessarily just online. I do have to meet, I have meetings and Zoom meetings with my professors and classes that I attend. So it's not just an online function, it is a distance function where there is other components that is just not online. So the face-to-face, online, and distance options are there. Local and relocation. If you are doing something like a CELTA, the intensive CELTA or the intensive Delta, you may want to relocate for a little while, 1 month or 2 months in terms of CELTA and Delta. Or if you're able to, you can do the local option where you can attend seminars and courses and whatnot face-to-face in a local area. Relocation is a possibility. I know quite a few people, again, as I said, from Japan. With the lack of CELTA options here, a lot of people will end up leaving for, they'll take their summer holiday and they'll go to, Vietnam or Turkey and whatnot, and they'll do an intensive course for either the CELTA or the Delta. And then we look at short and intensive and extended programs. So short courses, something like what we're doing today. This is short, but this is professional development. You're learning more about numerous themes from what I've seen. There's short courses, obviously intensive. Again, I'm going back to the CELTA and the Delta with intensive rather than spreading it out, and then extended programs. So you could do your CELTA over a year, you could do your Delta over a year, or you could do the 1 month program or the 8-week program. And now that is available. It's also available online and distance as well for CELTA and Delta. So again, these are all kinds of options that you can think about. Basically, you need to figure out which one's going to work for you, what you're interested in, and what you can afford. And afford doesn't just mean in terms of financial resources, but also in terms of time and availability and what you can do. I keep doing that. So certificate programs and degrees. So just quickly, a lot of places now, if you're presenting, you will be given a certificate of presentation, which is great. You can take that back to your employer and you can sort of have something to show that you are doing some professional development. But you can also get certificates, again, locally recognized ESL and EFL certificates. And again, the TKT, the CELTA, or the Delta certificates. One of the things that I do want to clarify here is degrees and qualifications are not necessarily the same as certificates. So again, in Japan, they're looking at academic qualifications such as a master's degree or a doctorate of education or a PhD program. Whereas for teaching, in terms of degrees and qualifications, you would have, perhaps your Bachelor of Education or your QTS. Please be aware, again, it goes back to the location, certain places would like to have degrees and qualifications, and other places would like to have certificates. So you do need to make sure that you are aware of what is going to be expected from you or what employers are going to be looking for if you're doing professional development in hopes of gaining employment. Yeah. So the next question, importance. So this is a big one, and I think this is where a lot of people should perhaps reflect. What is the purpose and what do you hope to gain? So I don't think that there's anything wrong in saying I'm doing professional development because I want to improve my opportunities for my career, for my job. I want to get a promotion. I want to get a better job. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If that's your motivation for doing professional development, absolutely do it. Knowledge, there are people who enjoy doing professional development because they love gaining knowledge. And then skills as well. Sometimes, teachers want to improve their teaching skills. They want to learn how to motivate their students better. So you do have to sit down and think about what is the main purpose and what do you want to gain from the professional development that you are doing? How competitive is the area that you're in? And what field do you want to work in? Again, that goes back to the beginning where, do you want to teach elementary school or do you want to teach high school, junior high school, at a language school? Because there are varying degrees of what you need to have in different circumstances and different certificates for that. So you do need to look at the competitiveness of the field that you're in. And please be aware that it changes over time. A little bit shocked to say, I got my CELTA degree 20 years ago. And the CELTA has undergone some changes since then. So it's been really interesting to watch CELTA go from sort of being very well recognized, but not a lot of people had it. And now it's grown in popularity, which is fantastic. But it just means that now you sort of have to bring something new to the table as well with your CELTA. So perhaps moving on and doing a Delta would be something that would make you more competitive in the area of where you want to work and where you're living. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying I want to work in my professional development to enhance my employment opportunities. I think it's very wise that if you do want to improve your opportunity and employment opportunities, that you are aware that you will have to probably do some more professional development. So skills and knowledge as well. So one of the things that I do want to mention is tips for effective professional development. And I think this is really important. We need to, the first one, shop around and ask questions. And I have that because I think we do need to have awareness that education is, there's a lot of people making money off education these days. And professional development is one area where people are making money. In terms of perhaps not necessarily offering well-recognized certificates and programs. And that's not necessarily to say that they are not quality programs, but it is sort of a bit of buyer beware. Ask around, how much money are you willing to spend? How much time are you willing to spend? And how recognized is the certificate that you will receive, or the qualification that you will receive in the end? A quick note for that, for example, is I have a Canadian teaching degree. I'm a certified high school teacher in Canada. And when I was doing my Bachelor of Education, I did a TESOL certificate from my university. That TESOL certificate was included in the fees for my university, but that TESOL certificate hasn't actually improved my chances of employment, because a lot of places don't know my university. They don't know the quality of the program. And so, if I say, hey, I have my teaching degree, and they're like, oh, well, that's fantastic. And then I say, and I also got a TESOL certificate from my university, they go, and I'm like, I have a CELTA. And they're like, okay, now we're talking. So please be aware that that is something that you do need to look into. Shop around, ask questions. If you're working at a language school, or it's a language school that's offering professional development, such as a teaching certificate program, contact them, ask them, hey, how is this recognized? Where is this recognized? How many hours? Ask them in terms of what they can tell you in terms of teacher development and employment opportunities, if that's why you are taking that program. For the next one, you are build a community of support. I think this is really important in terms of professional development. We are a community. Teachers need other teachers. We do go into the classroom and we do teach by ourselves, but we have coworkers and colleagues that have so much experience and so much knowledge that, the support, we need the support, but you can also offer the support. And again, you can ask them questions, or, where did you go to do this? And how did you get qualified? Or what do you do for professional development? So you can build that community of support to promote professional development. If you do enter a certificate or qualification program, it says work with your cohort and peers. Again, this goes back to building a community. I'm currently in my last year, I'm in my dissertation year. And I would not be getting through this program if it wasn't for my cohort. The support that I have been given from them and the knowledge that they have passed to me has seriously helped my professional development. It has clarified a lot of things that perhaps I wasn't really understanding as much as I thought I did. But work with your cohort and peers, and then it'll be your turn as well, that you can offer that support to them. One of the big ones, attempt to find work-life balance. Don't burn yourself out. You could be the most qualified teacher in the world, but if you don't have any work-life balance, it's going to be really, really hard to improve your situation. So please do attempt to find work-life balance. That also goes with which program or which certificate you may want to take when you are looking into professional development. The intensive courses, for example, for CELTA and Delta are very intensive. You will sort of have to put your life on hold a little bit for that. Whereas if you do it in terms of a long-term program, it's not so hectic. Okay. One of the big things, update your resume. Always keep your resume updated. Always keep your resume updated, because you will attend conferences or symposium or workshops, and you may forget that you attend them, or you may forget that you've presented at them. But please do keep your resume updated. That is a sign of professional development. And particularly if you are looking to changing your employment situation, you need to have an up-to-date resume, and they will ask you questions about it. And if you forget to add something to your resume in a job interview, you can't add it then. And then one of the other ones that I want to talk about too is think about publishing and presenting. It is really, really important to think about what you represent as a teacher. And I think when you have to sit down and write, when you are publishing and when you have to present, you really have to clarify a lot of your thoughts and opinions and how you feel on this. And so publishing and presenting is most certainly professional development. In terms of publishing and presenting as well, not a lot of people do it in our field. There's so many teachers, fantastic teachers with wonderful ideas, great classroom management skills. They really are motivating for their students, but they don't publish it, and they don't write about it, or they don't present on it. And it's a shame, because we miss out on their greatness, but also they're sort of missing out on being able to have that opportunity to show that they do professional development. So if you are here and you're thinking about, do I want to do a presentation or do I want to publish? I really, really encourage you to do that, because that does show, if you are looking for a job or whatnot, it does show that you're motivated, and it does demonstrate that you are working on your professional development. Those are definitely signs of professional development for that. So I do have about 7 minutes at this point. I'm not sure if you can see my screen anymore. So is there at this point any, I'm going to stop sharing my screen actually. Cute. All right, are there any questions at this point? I know that it's sort of like localization is key, and that's the most important thing. But again, the localization is so important, because what is important in one area is in one part of the country or in one city or one place. It's not necessarily what another place is looking for. So does anybody have any questions?
There were a couple of questions, but one though is for publishing. How would you recommend that the teachers who maybe are listening and who have some ideas, how would you recommend, or what resources would you give them to kind of get started? Like, where should they? Okay.
I think there's a lot of local teacher associations, and I think I didn't even talk about teacher associations. There's generally teacher associations all over, more so for English. I think English teachers, we love our associations. We love our presentations and symposium and whatnot. I think if you were to do a check, to do a web search check about ELT and publications or associations in your area, there's definitely like a newsletter or even blogs or whatnot that people could start to write for. When we say publications, we don't necessarily mean you have to have it in an academic journal. I think newsletters and whatnot for teacher associations is a fantastic way to start. Book reviews, if you are a part of a teacher association, book reviews, I highly, highly, highly recommend book reviews to start, so you can start reading books and then start thinking about your opinions and whatnot and how you view education. So book reviews is a fantastic way to start in terms of publications.
I've also had, I've come across a lot of people asking for examples of work, or if they're associated with any kind of blog or something like that, because that is also a publication too, a personalized blog of your activities and things you do as a teacher. Yeah. Can
I just mention volunteering as well in terms of teacher associations, and so like for having this conference, for example, that is also huge in terms of professional development. So if you're volunteering for a conference or a symposium, whatnot, it's great in terms of having that experience, but you're also networking. And I think people really, really undervalue how much work and how important networking is. And that is also part of professional development. You have no idea where the networking will take you. So please be aware of that as well.
Yeah, I agree. So there's another question, a couple of questions specifically, and maybe you know more. A Cambridge International Diploma in Teaching and Learning. Someone has asked if Cambridge recognizes that as what level of teacher qualification that would be.
That's a really good question. And unfortunately, I don't actually have the answer to that, just mainly because that's not available where we are in Japan. It's not recognized. So I wouldn't actually be the person to answer that question. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we can maybe do some research and forward the
Yes,
answer later.
definitely.
So I have another question about a rather specific program, and I'll read the question word for word. In terms of professional development, do you think we should take a program not internationally recognized and which has a lot of negative reviews, like World TESOL Academy? And I personally haven't heard of it. If we are obliged to do so from the workplace where we work.
Okay, that's a loaded question. That's a big question.
Yeah.
If your employer is willing to financially support that, if they're wanting you to take it, I would hope that they would be willing to financially back that. I don't think that there is going to be anything necessarily wrong with taking a course that, if you are not financially backing, that's going to take some time from you, that you are going to learn from. If you're going to, just learning a few things from that course would be very helpful. But if you are being asked to finance it yourself and you're not necessarily keen on it, I think that's probably a conversation you need to have with your employers in terms of why you would not want to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And another question, which is, I've wondered myself, which is better to start with, a CELTA or Delta?
I would honestly say baby steps and go with the CELTA. The CELTA is, I think, there's the TKT, which is really sort of the baby of the babies. It's not that difficult to do, but then honestly, I would really recommend starting with the CELTA. Delta's big. Delta is intense. It's a lot of work. And I think if you are not an experienced teacher who has been talking to a lot of people about pedagogy and whatnot, Delta will really, there's a lot of reading in Delta. I honestly, I would say start with CELTA first. You can never go wrong with improving after, right? You can start with CELTA, lay that foundation, and then move up.
Yeah, and it's also good, especially if you haven't done a program like that before, to always start with something small, and then you know how much time will be involved, how much energy, how much effort, how much reading, all that kind of stuff.
Delta is a lot of reading.
Yeah. And I think one last short question. Do you have a site, like a best site recommendation for CELTA or TEFL kind of preparation or certificates? Or
I think if you Google it, I think a lot of it too is in terms of the area that you're in. Again, it sort of goes back to that localization. I think speak to the teachers that you work with or places that you're thinking about taking the course at, and speak to the teachers there about what they recommend, because certain people have different recommendations in terms of sites and whatnot. I know it's a very wish-washy answer, but it's really hard for me to say, we have 60 different countries represented here. It's really hard to say this is the one website that's going to get you through, because it is so vastly different depending on where you are.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You have to do research of where you are.
You do have to do your research. It really, the teaching market is so different in so many parts of the world. I have my master's degree. I moved to London for a year, and I wanted to go into supply teaching. And I contacted a couple places, and I was like, I have my master's degree, and they were like, great, can you teach? And I was like, I have my CELTA. And they were like, yes, okay, now we can talk to you, because just the qualifications that they were looking for were so completely different. Whereas in Japan, it really is, oh, you have a CELTA, that's great. Okay. Do you have a master's degree? Yes. Okay, now we can talk to you. So that the localization is, it's so different. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I think professional development is so important in terms of looking at the big picture, but also figuring out where you are now and where you want to go in the future, and plan that out, because it's really important that you plan that out.
Yeah, and that includes also like programs that include maybe a little bit of administration if you want to move up or sideways, or yeah.
Grab any opportunities, grab opportunities.
Yeah.
Make sure you have that work-life balance, but don't say no. Don't say no to things. You have no idea where you're going to end up, and what you've done may help you in the long run. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially if your employer, if you ask, will help you pay for it. That's also a big thing. Yeah, money.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Well, thanks. We do have other questions, but I will forward them to you, and then we'll include
Fantastic.
all the answers in the report afterwards.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much for monitoring this.
Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.